my name is Paisley, and I come from a single-parent household. When I was young, my father passed away, and since then, my mom has been raising me on her own. I never felt sorry for myself, though, sure, I didn't get to spend as much time with my mom as I'd like, but I admired her deeply. She worked tirelessly to keep the architectural design firm she and my father had built running. I looked up to her as a strong, independent woman, and I dreamed of becoming just like her, driven, successful, and determined. But recently, something happened that shattered my admiration. My boyfriend, Mato, is 3 years older than me. We met during college, and since then, we've been inseparable. Mato comes from a wealthy family, and he secured a prestigious position at a bank thanks to his connections. He's been generous, taking me out to fancy restaurants and surprising me with thoughtful gifts. He can be a bit indecisive at times, but he's kind, loving, and an overall great guy. We've been talking about marriage recently. I graduated from college this spring and just started working, so the idea of marrying right away seems a little daunting. Plus, I want some time for myself, but we agreed that we'd love to start our life together in the near future. Today, I'm meeting his parents, who, in the not-so-distant future, will be my in-laws. I'm both excited and nervous as I prepare to meet them and share our plans to get married. This is my first time visiting their home, and I've put a lot of thought into my appearance. I want to make a good impression on Mato's affluent parents, so I've spent extra time perfecting my outfit, hair, and makeup. I hope they'll see me as someone worthy of Mato's love. With that in mind, I leave the house, feeling a mix of anticipation and nerves. Mom, I'm heading out to Mato's today, I called out as I grabbed my bag. Oh, right, just be polite, okay? She replied, glancing up from her computer as she worked from home. Of course, I'll see you later, I said, stepping out the door with a smile. After a train ride and a bus trip, I finally arrived at Mato's house, located in the neighboring town. It was a massive, fairy tale-like mansion. I'd confirmed their favorite cake shop ahead of time and brought a cake as a gesture of goodwill. I rang the doorbell, feeling a flutter of excitement in my chest. Paisley, we've been expecting you. Welcome, Mato greeted me with a warm smile as he opened the door. As I stepped inside, I couldn't help but marvel at the grandiosity of the house, the expansive rooms, the luxurious decor. It was clear that Mato's father, an executive at a major bank, had a wealth that was almost beyond comprehension. Nice to meet you, I'm Paisley, I said, my nerves getting the better of me. I bowed politely, hoping my smile would hide how overwhelmed I felt by the opulence around me. Welcome, Paisley, we're delighted to have you, Mato's mother said warmly. Please, have a seat, I'll make some tea. Paisley, I'm Mateo's father, please, make yourself comfortable, Mato's father added with a smile. Mato's parents were just as kind as I had imagined, gracious and welcoming, like the perfect couple from a fairy tale. The conversation flowed easily, with tea and cake as we exchanged stories. His mother was an excellent conversationalist, and his father listened attentively, occasionally chiming in. I thought this moment of harmony would last forever, but when the topic of my family came up, everything changed. So, you lost your father when you were 5, and your mother raised you alone? Mato's mother said with a thoughtful expression. She must be an extraordinary woman. I respect her greatly. The fact that you've grown into such a wonderful person is a testament to her strength. We could learn a lot from her as parents. Yes, my mom is definitely my role model, I replied, feeling proud and hopeful that I was making a good impression. But then, just as quickly, her tone shifted. However, being raised in a single-parent household and having a mother who is self-employed, well, I'm afraid that may not be the best foundation for you to become Mateo's wife, she continued, her voice growing colder. Mato's father nodded in agreement, adding, it's about trust and stability. We have concerns about financial security and the reliability of such a background. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. They had just praised me, and now, in the blink of an eye, they were calling me unsuitable. I was at a loss for words, completely stunned. I turned to Mato, hoping for his support, but his silence only deepened my unease. Mom, Dad, please, not again. Mato's voice was tight with frustration. What does it matter? Her family situation? It's such a small thing. He was trying to defend me, but his parents were resolute, their opinions already set in stone. No matter the reason, we can't trust a family with only one parent. We'd be in trouble if we were ever asked to lend money because of some financial issues, Mato's father said, his face growing darker. And besides, it's rare for a single mother to send her daughter to college. It raises questions about where the money's been coming from. We can't accept a woman like that into our family. Our family has been in banking for generations, Mato's mother added, her words sharp and unyielding. Their comments weren't outright slander, but they stung more than if they had been. Mato argued back, his voice growing more desperate, but it was no use. His parents were firm, and soon the conversation became a heated exchange with me caught in the middle. standing silently as the three of them debated. We can accept that you're just having fun with her, but you should consider the reality of marrying her. The gap between your lifestyle and hers is too wide. It's inevitable that you'll break up eventually, and it would be better to face that now, Mato's father concluded, his tone final. Mato fell silent, unable to argue any further. He just stood there, looking at the ground, and when he finally turned to me, his gaze was downcast. I'm sorry, Paisley, I can't marry you after all, he said softly, as if the words were physically painful for him to speak. I was stunned. What, you're ending it because of my family? Is that really the reason? I asked, my voice breaking with disbelief. Mato hesitated, his eyes searching mine, but he couldn't find the words. I don't want to hurt you, Paisley, please don't blame me for this, he said, his voice thick with guilt. You've known about I can see now that's the kind of family they are, my mother said, her tone steady, but with a hint of sadness. It seems like Mato was just going along with them. Honestly, a marriage with someone like him wouldn't have lasted anyway. It's probably better that you didn't marry him, she added, trying to comfort me. Mom, I began, but she cut me off gently. It must have been tough, Paisley, but you handled it well, despite all the hurtful things they said. She knew how much I had been through. Her words soothed me, and she pulled me into a hug. Then, her expression shifted to something more practical. Which bank does Mateo's father work for? The name of the bank came to me immediately. Mateo had mentioned it countless times, often boasting about it. When I told her, her face seemed to harden with understanding. Paisley, I know your mom doesn't earn much, and there's no father in the house. It's easy to feel unlucky about that sometimes, but don't you ever feel embarrassed or inferior because of it, she said, her voice strong and unwavering. After your father left, I made sure you knew that. I raised you believing you're worth just as much as anyone, and because of that, I will never forgive Mato and his family for what they did to you. Even though I'd cried all the way home, tears threatened to rise again. My mother's words reminded me of something that had always been true, my deep love and admiration for her. I had always looked up to her hard work, and I wanted to be just like her. To think that I would ever allow anyone, especially Mato and his family, to make me feel ashamed of my mother's strength was ridiculous. The next day, my mom was more determined than ever. I looked into it, and as I suspected, our company does have dealings with Mateo's father's bank, she said. I don't want to be associated with a bank that employs the man who treated my daughter like that. I'm canceling the contract. I'll explain everything to them. If they want to talk about trust, they'll see that they no longer have mine. Without hesitation, my mom called the bank as soon as it opened, bypassing the usual channels, and asked to speak directly to the branch manager. Good morning, branch manager, she began calmly, her voice firm. I'm calling to terminate our company's relationship with your bank. I apologize for the sudden decision, but it seems one of your employees has deeply mistreated my daughter. If you'd like to hear more details, I'd be happy to come in and explain personally. What do you think? She finished, her tone resolute. I overheard the conversation just before I left for work. I knew she was going to cancel the contract, but I didn't understand the full scope of what would happen next. I wouldn't fully comprehend it until a few days later, when I received an unexpected call from Mato, asking to meet at a nearby park. When I arrived, I found him and his parents waiting for me, their eyes cold and judgmental. Mato looked troubled, his voice tinged with panic. My dad just got fired, and when I asked why, they told me it was because of you. What did you do, Paisley? The weight of his words hit me like a hammer. Suddenly, everything made sense. What it meant to sever a contract, what it meant for a banker to lose trust. Trust was the lifeblood of their industry, and without it, they had nothing. When trust is broken, livelihoods are shattered. It was clear to me now, his father had been removed because he was the root cause of that lost trust. Later, I learned that Mateo and his father had treated customers with the same disdain they had shown me, looking down on them as though they were beneath them. It seemed it was only a matter of time before they were caught. My mother's call had been the final push. I didn't do this by my own strength, I said, standing tall. I don't have that kind of power, but what my family did for me, this was their doing, and I should stand by it proudly. You insulted my mother, so she used her power to fight back. Mateo's father looked at me in disbelief. What? There's no way a company run by the parents of a girl like you could have enough power to get me fired just because of a complaint. I met his incredulity with calm certainty. The company my parents run may not be massive, but my mother's influence extends far beyond that one office. She might not manage every operation directly, but her position gives her significant sway. Now I fully understand the role all those transactions with your bank played. You see, while my mom's company is small, she's also a non-executive director at several companies my grandfather oversees. The truth is, she has the power to affect your business in ways you never considered. All the contracts my grandfather's companies had with your bank, they're all terminated now. I rattled off the names of a few companies my grandfather owns, and I watched as the color drained from Mateo's father's face. That's impossible, he mumbled, struggling to comprehend the situation. Is it really? I asked, my voice unwavering. After all, he's my grandfather. Why would he want to do business with a bank that disrespected his granddaughter and daughter? It seemed the realization had finally hit them. The arrogance in their faces faded, replaced by shock and fear. Then, without warning, they dropped to their knees, pressing their foreheads to the floor, sobbing in apology. But all I could think of was how pathetic they looked. Mato, still clinging to the hope of salvaging something, reached out to me, his voice breaking. Paisley, I'm sorry for everything. I was serious about marrying you. I thought it would be better if you left for a bit. My parents were being difficult, but I didn't mean for things to go this way. His words fell flat. The excuses kept coming, one after another, but they were as empty as they were pathetic. It was clear he was trying to save face, but I had already given up on him. I pulled my arm away from his grasp, my voice cold and firm. My mom is incredible. She's my role model. You don't deserve her respect, and you certainly don't deserve mine. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. You disrespected my mother. What you did was unforgivable. I'm leaving because my mom worries. Goodbye. Don't ever contact me again. Without looking back, I turned and walked away. Mato didn't try to follow me. He could only watch, still kneeling, his face a picture of defeat, just like his parents. In the weeks that followed, Mateo's family's once privileged lifestyle crumbled. Unable to maintain their high-end lifestyle, they began selling off their cars, jewelry, and luxury goods. Eventually, they even had to sell their house. Through contacts at the bank, my mother and grandfather had made sure their financial downfall was swift. Deep down, I knew I had dodged a bullet by not marrying into that family. Mateo would likely continue living with his inflated sense of pride, struggling to make ends meet. My only hope was that he would eventually learn to live within his means. As for me, I had just started my own journey into the working world. There were more things I couldn't do than things I could, but I was learning fast. Of course, my experience had taught me to be more discerning in choosing a partner, but above all, I wanted to become stronger. Just like my mother, she was the person I aspired to be, someone who could protect and support her family with grace and strength. Every day, I would work toward becoming that kind of woman.